Hello and welcome to Fae The Source from Young Scot. I'm Duncan, and in this series we talk to experts about important topics, taking a closer look at the issues that really matter. The first topic we're going to explore is what it means to be a young man in Scotland today. We'll be talking openly about masculinity, the good, the bad and everything in between. This is a safe space for honest conversation, and today we're joined by Connor McKee. I've had the opportunity to speak to you a little bit off camera, and I've learnt a lot about you. We've actually been speaking for a good bit, so I hope we're going to be able to repeat a lot of our conversations. But for anyone tuning in that is new or hasn't seen your face before, would you mind just telling us a little bit about who you are and what it is that you do?
Yeah, so my name is Connor McKee. I'm a youth worker here in Glasgow. I've been doing that for over a decade now, and we work in the community of Royston at the moment. So we will do anything that we can do to support communities and families in Royston. We work from children to OAPs. So yeah, if there's any form of support that we can offer, we'll try our best to do so.
What does you've spoken a bit about your role there. What does your day-to-day look like? What does your week-to-week look like?
Right now, it's going really, really positive. We've just got back into schools again, so we've been trying to strike up partnerships as the same as everyone after the pandemic, try to re-establish them and get back into the schools and continue that work. So off the back of a really good mentor and wellbeing programme last term, we've been invited back along this term and started again last week. So we're in doing a lot more mentorship programmes, and we've also recently hosted 2 positive masculinity days in St Roch's High School as well, to try and introduce the topic to all the 4th years.
Of course, and how's that going? Is that going?
It was amazing, I'll be honest. I came in there thinking we were going to get a better response for the girls. Yeah. We split it up into genders to try and give them that space to feel that they could speak without judgment. And I really thought the girls were going to be the ones talking about all the issues and passionate about it. And do you know, hats off, boys, you surprised me. You were the ones that were really in tune, wanted to have the conversations, and I felt like the girls were maybe feeling a bit out of their depth and wondering where their place was in that conversation. So blew my mind, because I thought I had that down to a T, and they completely threw that out the window for me.
It sounds as if every day that you go in, and you don't really know how it's going to go, and every day is a new day for you.
That's youth work.
I was going to say, that definitely sounds a little bit familiar, but that's good, and I think that keeps it fresh and nice and exciting for you.
Now, sorry to touch on, but apart from the school work, we do an amazing bunch of different clubs and programmes. So we run over 20 different clubs and programmes a week as well. So just try to get a wee plug in there. It's not only schools. We do try and work with the schools to create that partnership, but we do have our own base as well, and run over 20 different clubs and projects a week for children and young people.
I'm sure that's very rewarding as well.
Oh, it's amazing. It's really, really
perfect. Now, in terms of actually talking a little bit about what it is that you've done, you've been involved in the Imagine a Man project and now work with Royston Youth Action. How did you first get interested in supporting young men and shaping conversations specifically about masculinity?
Love that question. I noticed that as a 2-part question, because for me, I got into this line of work through being a young person who was supported and got great opportunities through different charities who were involved with my life at the time. They then led on to me being a part of Royston, and that created my journey to become a youth worker. More recently though, within the past 3 years, that's when YouthLink and No Knives Better Lives, had been in touch with the Imagine a Man project and asked us to be part of year 2. For me, the conversation was always there and trying to support young men in whatever capacity that looked like. I am a gay man, so for me, it was always through the lens of supporting young men who were potentially looking for a space to come out or somebody to look up to and things like that. So it was through that lens that I seen my strength, but then more recently in the past 3 years, it's been able to have the language of positive masculinity. It's been able to get into spaces and speak to young men, especially after a pandemic, about how do you feel? Yeah. Sorry if that's a bit of a long-winded answer, but that's kind of, it was like a 2-parter for me, a personal thing, and then when the professional side and the language and stuff came along and the opportunity to do that work came, that's where most
absolutely. It's a big question from. So there's a lot to think about in there. We obviously talked a little bit about Imagine a Man project. For those that haven't come across it, would you mind telling us, break it down a little bit for us? What's it about?
So Imagine a Man is a project with YouthLink Scotland and No Knives Better Lives. They had done a year 1 project after COVID, looking at I believe it was young boys in Scotland and just their kind of attitudes and behaviours. That then led on to year 2, where we were invited along to answer the question, what is positive masculinity? That was an amazing opportunity. So 3 organisations from Scotland. One was based in Dundee, great project up there, and the other guys were based in Shetland, and another phenomenal project up there. We in Royston, we were a youth-led part of that. So the guys said, we all took different approaches on how we were going to create the project, but for Royston, we took the youth-led approach. And in the first instance, we've got a great partnership with Glasgow Children's Holiday Scheme. I don't know if you know them, but a really, really good programme. They give caravans away to people who need some respite, and we've been a really good receiver of that support from the partnership. So we got to take 10 young guys down to Weems Bay, put them in a caravan together and start the conversation about what is positive masculinity.
Nice.
So that was phenomenal. That was the initial kind of bringing the group together and introducing the idea to them and asking, do you want to be a part of this kind of project, you know? And through that, they then went into their schools, they became the lead researchers, and they were the ones that actually went out to ask the question, what is positive masculinity? They learned how to become researchers, they got all these new skills, found the evidence to their answers, and then decided how they wanted to produce and publish their answers was also in the form of a podcast. So they've created a wee podcast to explain about their research. That then just kind of grew arms and legs, became the toolkit, and it's just been amazing for the young guys to have that experience and ask these questions.
Absolutely. Apparently everyone's making podcasts these days, you know.
It's the thing to do.
There's a lot of value in what you've talked about there, and especially bringing them young people into settings that maybe they're not used to, aka being in a caravan and having those conversations. But it does definitely prompt a lot of different behaviours. Now, the Imagine a Man project, like you've said before, you speak to over 1,000 young people about masculinity specifically. Were there, and if so, what were the biggest lessons or surprises that you came across while having the conversations about masculinity with them?
Again, I think the biggest surprise for me was how open and willing the young men were to be having these conversations. They wanted to talk about it, and they wanted to be given a space to talk about it. That really blew my mind, because without judging, people didn't think they had the kind of emotional intelligence or maturity to be kind of having these big, deep conversations, and they were the ones that wanted to lead them and ask the questions and start to dissect their own kind of behaviours and thoughts and stuff about the topic. So it's been really interesting.
What do you think prompted that they felt comfortable? Or because I would agree with you, I would agree that in terms of, especially in our experience and a lot of the conversations that I've had previously with guests, is about the idea of young people being scared to be vulnerable and coming out and speaking about these things. But the example you've given there, and when you've spoken to them before, that they seem like they're really up and ready to really enact change and speak openly about it. So what do you think makes that happen?
In all honesty, I don't know, and I'm still trying to get to that answer. I do feel after the pandemic, men are probably a lot more in touch with themselves and their emotions than they've maybe ever been, and that willingness to be open and want to be, I don't want to say a better person, but like not better for society, but better for you and a better person in your own mind, and be healthier and feel better and stuff, you know. So I think it's just a want for a better life and a better outcome for yourself, really.
Amazing. Could you see within the conversations that you had and when you've worked with them, are you almost watching a little journey as they start speaking, they open up, and the kind of process happens? Is it like a progression?
Absolutely.
And it must be incredibly rewarding.
It's beautiful. Like from being in the caravan that weekend and the guys talking about it and what they wanted to achieve, I'll get choked up talking about it. I still get choked up thinking about it. 10 young men for Royston in a caravan who would normally be perceived as probably quite toxic, not very emotionally mature. We were hugging and crying and telling each other we loved each other. Do you know, that's a powerful thing for any young man to be able to do in any setting, but for 10 young guys for Royston to be able to do that was surreal. And I think that only came because of the youth workers and how willing we were to be open and be vulnerable and share our stories, do you know, and it was completely men-led. There was no females there at that time to kind of try and create that space. So I think when they see us getting emotional and choked up and being vulnerable and speaking about our lives, it kind of showed them, well, if they can do it, we can do it. Like, no reason we can't, you know. And the makeup of the group was brilliant. You would assume 10 wee guys were all just going to be the same, but the diversity and the backgrounds and the makeup from the wee guys were amazing, you know. Some of them were gay, some of them were aspiring football stars who'd probably never really thought or associated with gay people, even though they all come to the same club. They're not necessarily best friends. They don't all come with the same group. They just come to the same space. But to then put them in a space where not forcing them to be friends, but building that, giving them an opportunity to build that relationship was incredible.
Amazing.
Incredible.
If we bring everything that we've spoken about just there back to the idea that we are currently speaking to each other, but the listeners might be young people who are actually in that position but maybe haven't gotten to the stage of speaking out about it, and they're either on the fence or they're relating to a little bit about what you're saying about the idea of wanting to, again, have that community and share and wanting to speak a little bit out about masculinity. What would you say to them, and is there anything you'd recommend or advice to them about where they are just now and how they're feeling?
Yeah, great. I'm like, keep that mindset, because it's so important. Even if you're not ready to speak out yet and you want to, just keep that in your mind. There is always a space for you somewhere. It's just about finding that space and where can you get that outlet. I would encourage more of it to happen. Okay. And I think it's just about, like I kind of touched on a minute ago, if people like myself can be that open and be that vulnerable and start to create and offer these spaces, then, do you know, it's a bit like open and they'll come, or bring it and they'll come, or whatever. Do you know, I think it's a case of that. When you're showing and offering these spaces, it's attracting more of the people that are kind of looking for it.
Good.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. I mean, absolutely. Is there anywhere you'd recommend for them to go to, or any resources at all? Do
you know, I wish I could say that there was. I don't know of an abundance of resources or toolkits that you should go and look at. Just engaging with people. Do you know, if you are wanting to have a talk or a conversation and stuff, seeking out your local youth club and seeking out maybe local groups. It can be sports groups, it can be dance classes, whatever that place is for you and your hobbies and things like that. Space can come along in there, you know.
That's perfect, and that's all I was really asking there. So very well answered. From your actual experiences, are there any qualities or behaviours that you think that really define positive masculinity for young men? Maybe something that's come out from the conversations you were having just there about where you're speaking about to young people in the caravan about it all. Yeah, what qualities or behaviours do you think define positive masculinity?
A really interesting question. Before I answer that, I just want to touch on the kind of work that they'd done. A big part of this when they were asking the question of what is positive masculinity was that nobody knew. Okay. So even though it's a concept and we're trying to make it happen, we can all answer what is toxic masculinity and talk about toxic traits, but that's where the research really came in and the young people started asking the important questions, because we don't know about it. So to put labels on it and things like that is a bit tough, because there is no official definition, but the kind of skills and the qualities that the young people had when expressing what we would now consider to be positive masculine traits was things like having really good listening ears, being able to just be a bit empathetic, and then also like having the art of debate and respect for people. You might not like someone, you might not agree with someone's opinion, but does that mean that you have to automatically draw a line and not debate, not discuss, not have that open dialogue? Personally, I don't think so. We need to disagree. We need to be able to have conversations that are quite controversial and quite tough, but ultimately recognising that you're not a bad person for having that thought or opinion. If it's maybe a toxic or a misogynistic thought or opinion, how do we work to support, to change the mindset rather than just automatically branding somebody something? And I think that's a big thing for people as well, just not getting put in a box and using skills like listening and empathy and understanding to have an open dialect conversation. Absolutely.
I think that openness to work around, like you said, if instead of attaching labels straight away, as soon as somebody holds an opinion in a certain way, actually taking a minute, taking a step back and thinking to have a conversation about it is in itself a step of, I guess, positive masculinity itself. Now, when you are speaking about these groups, we've spoken a lot about this specific example. I think it's important to try and draw what has worked well for these sessions as well. Obviously, the process is very important, but a big challenge within this process is actually trying to give and make the spaces that you're talking to young people about masculinity safe. What has worked best in your sessions to help make these young men feel comfortable?
Again, I feel, I'm not trying to repeat myself, maybe already answered this, but just, I think being the person that takes the lead and showing the willingness to be open and to listen and try and understand where the young people are coming from. If they think you hold a certain view and they've got a different view, they're going to be more reluctant to opening up and explaining or telling their side of the story. But if you can be open and tell them, like, I'm not here preaching and telling you that I know all the answers, I'm just telling you my thoughts on this and my understanding of it, and I would like to know yours too. And if I don't think yours is right, I'll tell you that. But if you also don't think mine's is right, I need to hear that, because I need to know where you're at with that.
Is there a way that you, as a positive role model or a positive masculinity role model, is there anything you do within those groups to reinforce that?
I guess just trying to be myself, do you know? I am a very emotional person, and it was something that worried me for so long, and not feeling masculine enough and not feeling like a man, because I will cry at a good advert, do you know? I'll set my calendar for the John Lewis advert at Christmas. Like, I am a very emotional man, and for a long time I thought that was a weakness in mine, and it's now been able to show that that's actually a strength, and I don't mind being an emotional person. I love being emotional. Actually, if I don't cry, that's going to make me wonder what's going on with me. You've not had a good cry in a while. Are you okay? So that, I think, just that willingness to be open and share your true self,
absolutely,
gives people that kind of comfort.
Absolutely,
to be there.
And that transcribes over to the young people that you're working with, and I'm sure will be a positive influence on them when they're thinking about opening up or talking about masculinity itself. So that's, again, thank you for sharing that. I was going to say, this is more of a kind of example-based question again, but what would be some examples, real or fictional, that you think demonstrate healthy, positive masculinity and what makes them stand out? This can be within your work again, or it can be completely separate from that out in the big wig world. It's up to you. Again,
I wish I had more specifics to say, go and look at this or go and do that. Like, I always struggle with this question because it can sometimes feel really person-centred, you know? So it's just about you as a person, like, what are you looking for, and then trying to kind of achieve that in that space. I believe there's so many men on a kind of pedestal nowadays that are put there maybe like on talent alone and stuff like that, and that's absolutely fine if you love that and you want to focus on that talent and go there and use that as your kind of role model, you know. But I feel to kind of flip that, there is so many other men out here who maybe don't have a big platform or a pedestal or a talent, but are just really decent guys, you know. They're just out there, they're trying to make a change, they've maybe made a mistake in their life, you know. So I just think whatever it is that your passion is, there is something in that space for you.
Absolutely.
I'm not trying to fob you off and say, go and find it yourself, but you will find it in your space naturally, whatever that may be for you, because it is quite person-centred to everybody.
Absolutely. I think there's definitely an element of discovery, maybe, is what we're speaking about, in that young people can go and have a think to themselves and what is it that they want to go and do and, you know, enjoy, that they're really passionate about. Some people might have absolutely no idea what they're passionate about. What if that's the case and they have no idea? Is there anything you'd say to them?
Try everything. Don't hold yourself back for things like being nervous or, oh, do you know, I really like the idea of doing that club, or I really like the idea of trying that hobby or sport. Don't let anything stop you. If that's what you want in life, go and take that, because the more opportunities that you take, the sooner you'll find what it is that you're looking for and where your space is, you know. I was 18 before I found my passion and got the opportunity to learn how to snowboard. I couldn't imagine my life if I wasn't on a mountain now. Even though I don't get to snowboard every day, I think about it all the time because that is just my happy place. So take every opportunity you can and you'll find yourself.
There really is no age and stage for that type of thing.
Absolutely not.
I reinforce that you should just go out and really seek and try and find what it is that sticks. If we think back to your journey to where you are just now and when you were younger and you were a young individual experiencing your journey with masculinity, is there anything you would change about your view or how you saw masculinity that you thought of when you were younger and that you would change now? Or if you looking back, what would you change?
Big question, sorry. I think back to times when I was a young person, and I kind of elaborated on it earlier on, not feeling like I was in a masculine space or could enter a masculine space. So I would love to say, I would go back and not feel that I wasn't part of that space.
Yeah.
I would love to go back and say, I could change this. I wish I wasn't bullied for my sexuality.
Yeah.
I wish this happened. I wish that happened. But would I be the person that I am today? Like, would I be here and would I be having these conversations? Would I be able to have this conversation if I hadn't been through that experience? So don't wish it upon my past self. I hated that I had to go through it and learn about it and grow through it. But personally, would I change it? No, because I think the qualities and the skills and the resilience that's gave me to be the person that I am today, it's kind of, I believe everything happens for a reason, you know, and that's why I'm sitting here today. So not happy about it, but I definitely wouldn't change it.
That's actually the first time I think somebody said that they wouldn't change anything, and I actually very much agree with you in this sense, in that indirectly the experiences that you've had and the mindsets that you've had, be it all you might have changed later down the line, indirectly this has brought you to the person that you are today and has brought you to be able to do and achieve the things you do today. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Well, that is honestly amazing. And I generally could sit here and listen to you talk about all your examples more and more, because I know there's plenty more out there, but we are getting to the stage where we need to start wrapping things up. So it is time to say thank you very much for watching Fae The Source. If today's chat got you thinking, or you're looking for advice or support, head to young.scot/I feel for more resources. That's young.scot/AYE, because we're Scottish, feel. You can also look down below to the link in the description. And if you want to keep the conversation going, hit subscribe and join us next time. Until then, take care of yourself and those around you. And from us, it is goodbye. And thank you for watching.